its battery life has to be the best feature of the brand new MacBook Pros using the Apple M processor inside of them. This really can last all day. I can pump out as many 4K videos as I want to on this, and then also do my other day job as well too, all within this one system, and the battery life just lasts all day long. And the great convenient thing is that not only does it charge via MagSafe, which is great and it charges fast, but it also charges via USB-C as well too. And it just makes it very flexible, and it takes that sort of worrying about battery life out of the equation. So you just more comfortable just using your device. And that key feature really encompasses everything in here. It really powers everything else, literally, but nothing else would stand out without that great battery life. Like the display on here is absolutely beautiful. I have the 16-inch model on here, and it's using the ProMotion 120 hertz display. I don't really have a great refresh rate, but it is nice to have it. It just makes things look fluid, vivid, smooth. I don't have to complain about the display at all. It looks so good. And also, even with that little cutout, that notch at the top, you don't even really notice it, to be quite honest with you. And that notch is sort of where the webcam is, and that's a pretty good webcam. It has a 1080p resolution on it. I've used it for Zoom calls and Telegram calls, and it's been fine. It works really well along with the microphones that are built into it. I really can't talk justice to how good these speakers are. You really just have to hear this for yourself.
Battery pack, Apple promises all day. Now, I was able to put on the headset quite comfortably. The band in the back is nice. There's a little...
You can see right there, they just bump with just excellent quality, just all around the board. These are the best I've heard in a laptop, period. And I can't say any more about that. That's just amazing to have. Along with the amazing to have is sort of the design that this laptop has, all the ports on it. It's such a sleek design. It's very, very, I would say, it's nice and flat. It has a sort of rectangular shape, obviously because of the laptop. But what I love about it here, it just feels very balanced, has some heft to it, a little heft to it, not too much, but I like that it has that weight. These little feet that are on here at the bottom are really nice as well too. Keeps it from sort of sliding around and going into many different places. Keeps it very nice and steady on there. It fits very well into my backpack, slides right into the laptop pouch and doesn't take up too much space. It's not too heavy. It's a very great design. Then when we take a look on the sides, we have all the ports that we need right there. We have, what, 3 USB-C ports that are all Thunderbolt ports on it. I have an HDMI port, which I don't use quite a bit, but it's nice that it's there. The SD card slot is clutch. I love having that. And I believe this one is UHS-2 for those that need to know. So this is going to have the full speeds in terms of transferring files off of it, or if you need to edit right off of the SD card, you should have enough transfer or bandwidth to be able to do it on here. I do wish this had a standard USB port on it, just for some of those older devices. That would be pretty nice. And if it had an Ethernet jack built into it, because there are some instances where you want to be able to use Ethernet. Now, this does come with Wi-Fi 6, and Wi-Fi is fine on it, speeds are fine on it, I have no problem with that. But there are occasions where maybe I just want to plug directly in. If this had a 10 gig port, that'd be amazing for those instances where you really want that speed. So now we can move in to talk about the keyboard, which this is the best keyboard I've used on a laptop. Just flows. It feels very comfortable. The backlit is just good enough for everything that I need in terms of if I need to type in at night or anything like that. I don't have any complaints about the keyboard. It just feels very, very good. But the one thing I really love about this is the built-in Touch ID. It just makes things fast in terms of logging right into the system. It's fast and it's fluid. Any type of admin approvals I need to do, boom, it's right there. It's just very easy to use. I really like that. I think this should be a feature on every single laptop. It just makes things a lot simpler. And now I'm going to mention something else that's best in class, and it's right up below the keyboard, and that is the touchpad that's on here. And the trackpad's just really good. Like, I'm not a big fan of the gestures. I'm still getting used to those sort of things. But in terms of just, if I only have to use the trackpad on a laptop, I usually hate that. But if I have to do it on here, it works fine. I can edit video with it just fine. I do like it. Will I always prefer having a mouse? Yes, it's just a lot easier to navigate for me in terms of when I need to use my computer. But if you really get into the gestures, I think you get a little bit more out of it. Just me personally, I'm just not the best at using those, or really like using those very much. Now let's get to the meat of the matter and its performance. I have the M1 Pro inside of here with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. It does everything I need. It does great with 4K editing on here. I don't do too many fancy things when it comes to video editing, but I can throw anything at it. I can for 4K, 8K video from my Samsung phone. It can edit it just fine, scrub in the timeline just fine. I use DaVinci Resolve as my editor, which is already pretty well optimized. And this just takes those media engines that's inside of this and the GPU inside of this built into the M1 and just runs smooth as butter, exports really fast. It's really nice to have when I need to make thumbnails for my videos. It works really well with Affinity Photo. I've had no problems with that, very well optimized as well on here. Anything else I need to do for my day job in terms of work, if I need to get into virtual desktops and servers, it all works well. I have like no complaints, and I never thought I would say that. I really don't in terms of just the raw performance. And one of the things I really do like is the instant on feeling of this. Like I can literally flip the laptop open, it's right there. I just hit the Touch ID, boom, I'm in and I'm ready to go. There's no waiting for something to load. There's no boot up, there's nothing. It just kind of flows and goes through, which we're not used to really in computing until we got to this point right here. Now, with that being said, I do still have a few issues. I did talk about the lack of a couple ports I would like. I am not the biggest fan of Mac OS. I do like some of the other things that it does. One of the things I will say that I like better in Windows is the way it handles multi-window mode. I'm not a big fan of how they do it on Mac OS. I really like, especially Windows 11, how they do it over there. That's just kind of a personal preference. You might not need that in your life, but or way you work with things. I sort of need that. So that's one of the things I'm not the biggest fan of here in between there. So still getting adjusted to Mac OS. I will say once Stage Manager came around, it became a lot easier to manage my windows and kind of have a bit of a workflow that I actually like working with. And I just want to give that perspective of somebody that's also a Windows user primarily, and you might be a Windows user as well too, that might be something you might want to sort of think about. You can get the job done, you can get used to things, there's going to be a learning curve, but you might not like everything that totally comes around, but that's okay. You know, it's good to kind of have skills with both of them, to be honest. I do want to stress though, while this is amazing, it is not cheap by any sort of means. I think I spent about $2,800 on this when I bought it back, and I had it been in 2021. If you're a content creator, absolutely, this is where you want to look at right now for laptops. It's hard to recommend anything else outside of this. I just want to profess though, this is not cheap. This is an investment, and I just want to push it to you and just tell you, okay, go buy a thing. If this doesn't fit into your budget, that's okay. Find something in your budget or save up to try to get what this is. If this is in your budget, I definitely would recommend taking a look at this for sure.